Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the College Town Podcast. My name is Derek DeBurger. With me is Sam Roth.
How we doing, guys?
We talk about it. Ohio State, Oregon.
We sure did.
What does this mean for Ryan Day? Is he going to get fired?
We'll see.
He could.
Oh.
We also talk about some other big games, some other near slip-ups like Florida, Tennessee, South Carolina, Alabama, Penn State, USC. That was an interesting one with a lot of stats.
Red River rivalry as well.
Yeah, Red River rivalry. Kansas State, Colorado too. Colorado is good. I'm telling you, Colorado's a solid team. We talk about some tragic news, unfortunately. We talk about Rick Pitino. That's right.
Yeah.
Ashton Jeanty watch, and then we do our pick'ems.
We sure do.
So, I mean, that's pretty much the show. We hope it sounds interesting enough for you to watch, and we hope that you stick around and watch it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we'll see you in there. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the College Town Podcast. It's Derek DeBurger and Sam Roth.
How we doing, guys?
Back in person.
I know, right?
Oh, it's been forever.
It's been like a month.
It has. It's been like a month, yeah. Let's talk about it. Game of the year, perhaps?
Maybe.
Not if you're Greg Sankey. He would never admit it, but Ohio State, Oregon.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a wacky game.
Bit of a great game.
Bit of a great game. I'm going to be honest. I was watching other games a little more than that one. Particularly, I was watching Florida, Tennessee.
Okay.
Because Florida was keeping it close. I was watching Kentucky, Vandy. You know why. I was hate watching.
Yep.
But Ohio State, Oregon is the big one.
Yeah, it was.
So let's talk about it.
All right, let's dive into it.
Oregon won.
Yeah.
It was a good game, though.
That was a really good game.
It was back and forth.
Uh-huh.
There was a lot happened in that game.
Yeah.
There was a missed field goal.
There was.
Extra point, which never happens. There was a safety, which is rare.
There was someone spitting on another person.
Which is exactly what I was getting to.
Yeah.
Do you remember who it was on Oregon?
It was...
I know they spit on Caleb Downs.
No, it wasn't.
You sure they didn't spit on Caleb Downs?
I don't think so.
I thought they did. I thought they were like... I thought Caleb Downs was trying to wipe the spit off his face through his helmet.
It was Tayshawn Holden ejected.
A wide receiver.
He spits in David, the cornerback.
Oh, okay, that makes sense too.
Igbinosun? He's a really good cornerback. I can't say his last name though.
Yeah, that's.
But yeah. No, it wasn't Caleb Downs, but
it's
a hell of a win for Oregon.
Spitting in someone's face is interesting.
I
mean, look.
Yeah.
Chinanu Onuaku gets a pass. Everyone else, it's vile. It's childish behavior.
Jeez.
But
yeah, Oregon came out with a great win.
Yeah.
College game day was there.
What's your biggest takeaway from that as far as Oregon winning? How does that change how you view them? Because I've talked about this. I was so high on Oregon in the preseason.
Mm-hmm.
They were my number one team preseason. I picked them preseason to win the national championship. I was super high on Oregon. And then through the first 2 weeks, I was like, oh, they suck. They're terrible.
I think there's going to be a rematch, and Ohio State takes the cake. That's the way I view this. I think it's a great win for Oregon. Don't get me wrong. I just think mixed in, like, Oregon barely won that game, partly also due to poor time management at the end by their quarterback, Ohio State's quarterback. They had a chance to kick the field goal at the end a little bit if he just slides sooner.
Yeah, I did watch that. That was
so.
I can't. I was like, okay, get down.
And he just kept going and looked up. Game's over. So like Ohio State had a chance to win this game. Also to note, it was something that we talked off air recently, just previously, was the how teams in the Big Ten, when they have to travel 2 or more time zones.
We've got a few stats for this game.
Yeah, because it's quite interesting.
Yeah.
So Ryan Day is now 2-7
in top 5 matchups.
But what I really want to get to in both of those wins, or no, I'm totally wrong here. Anyway, the Big Ten teams are now 3-12 in games where they have to travel 2 or more time zones. So basically, more or less going from East Coast to West Coast, or is it also Central to West Coast as well?
Yeah.
Both. So from what we're seeing here is that
and vice versa, of course.
right, and the anomaly to that is that UCLA is the one team that has lost twice.
Yeah, the 3 teams that have gotten wins have been Indiana, Penn State, and Minnesota. Indiana and Minnesota both played at UCLA.
Yeah.
So they are the exception that proves the rule, because UCLA might be the worst power team in the sport this year.
Right.
And Penn State
Barely
almost lost
in overtime.
Yeah. This is a quick note. We'll talk about this game, I think, a little bit later. UCLA has led in every single game this year in the fourth quarter.
Wow.
And they're 3-3.
Cool.
But we'll get back to Ohio State, Oregon.
So I think part of that is that Ohio State kept it this close and put themselves to have a chance to win, while also having to travel cross country for a game and play against,
and playing in Autzen Stadium.
Yeah, against a very good team preseason that everyone thought had a chance to be a national champion. So
for a very raucous crowd.
I think I look at this and I go, Ohio State is legit, because like Ohio State up to this point, in my opinion, has not been truly tested. Mm-hmm. Whereas like the biggest test that maybe Oregon's also gotten is also like Boise State, maybe. So in the same breath, it was a good test. I think both of these teams have a shot at the national championship. I'm excited to see the rematch for the conference championship, and both of these teams will probably be in the tournament.
Yeah, I would.
So,
I don't think anything you said is wrong, honestly.
So I'm excited for the rematch, because that's how I'm viewing this. Is like, gosh, this game came down to 1 point. They're going to meet at the end of the season. I don't see in a world right now where Penn State is better than these two teams. I just don't see it.
I mean, I could see Penn State sneaking up on them.
Right. I'm just saying, like, there's 3 teams that are the big teams in the Big Ten right now. It's Penn State, Oregon, and Ohio State. I think Oregon and Ohio State are a tier above Penn State.
And, of course, Indiana.
I mean, Indiana is undefeated. Kudos to them.
Indiana might legitimately go 11-1 in the regular
They
season.
might, because of the way their schedule is. But I'm looking at it, and it's like Penn State, Illinois was like the only true test that they got. I mean, USC might be a ranked team. It's just they've probably stumbled. I mean, Ohio State and Penn State will meet. So that's kind of a must-win to this point for Ohio State. And it is in Happy Valley, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
So that'll be interesting.
That's gonna be a crucial game for not only the Big Ten but for Ryan Day, because as was mentioned, as when we were getting to the Big Ten stat, Ryan Day is now 2-7 in regular season games, 1-4 when those games are in the regular season. I mean, sorry, 2-7. He's 2-7 in top 5 games.
Yeah,
and 1-4 in top 5 regular season games. I said that wrong. Interestingly, 3 of those 4 losses in the regular season are to Michigan.
Yeah, he can't beat Oregon or Michigan.
Yeah, it's actually. I also wrote down this is just his second regular season loss to a non-Michigan team, and yeah, both times it's Oregon.
Right.
His, I think it was his first year as a head coach. He lost to Oregon at home. Yeah, and Oregon was ranked number 12 at the time.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Ryan Day, be honest, do you think the pressure is like the heat on his job is warranted?
After that game?
Yeah.
No.
There's a lot of Ohio State fans that are like calling for his head.
Well, I mean, like, if Ohio State's expectation is national championship, I get that completely. Part of it's also like, who can you go out and get that's better than Ryan Day? Because we just saw it with Alabama, where the best Alabama could do was Kalen DeBoer. Not dogging Kalen DeBoer.
I think Kalen DeBoer is a great coach.
He's a great coach, absolutely. I'm just saying, like, who is above Ryan Day in the scheme of football that you would be like, I want him, and he's certifiably better than Ryan Day, and that's actually you could get. And to me, it seems like
Dan Lanning.
And Dan Lanning didn't leave to go to
Alabama. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Dan Lanning's here to stay in Oregon for the position he's in with the fan base, the Nike deals, the money, the NIL. He's got a great setup there, power conference. He's got everything going there, right? So I don't see Dan Lanning leaving. Don't see Kirby Smart leaving.
No.
I don't see Steve Sarkisian leaving.
Nope.
So who is better than Ryan Day, in my opinion?
But Chip Kelly, I don't know.
Okay.
He's on staff.
But yeah,
I mean, I don't think that there is really.
I mean, I understand the expectation is national championship. I just think it's a little too far-fetched to be going out and trying to fire your coach because he loses 2 games a year.
Also, which, by the way, he doesn't always lose 2 games.
No, he doesn't.
They've had many one-loss seasons.
Yeah, and they're
including the year where their only loss came in the national championship game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think it's ridiculous. I do get job pressure, which is what this is, but still, he's been very, very competitive. He's a very good quarterback whisperer. I don't think he's as good as other coaches necessarily at that specific thing, but overall, I think he's a very good coach. Also, the idea of what a national champion caliber team is going to change with the 12-team playoff, because this one loss doesn't kill them at all.
No.
They're still firmly in it.
No, absolutely.
I mean, back in the day of the 4-team playoff, Ohio State's still firmly in it.
Oh, yeah.
But it's just that now it's like, okay, they could even lose to Penn State and maybe like sneak in as the 11 or 10.
Yeah, somewhere around there, yeah. I just don't understand why the expectation for, like, perfection shouldn't be the expectation. It's kind of like the exception. Like, if you go perfect, great. Like, that is fantastic. You won a national championship. But if you're going to have that expectation of perfection, you're going to be disappointed as a fan. It rarely happens. You have to be such a dominant team in college football to do that.
Yeah, it's hard to do it. And he's only gone undefeated in the regular season once, and that was the COVID year.
Right.
I don't know. You want to talk more about the Big Ten struggling in games, because it's the price of expansion, baby. I mean, let's talk about USC, Penn State. Penn State nearly lost.
They were down big.
They were down 14.
Yeah.
And USC, it was 14 points at halftime. I don't remember what it was to start the fourth quarter, but USC was still up in the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And then they also took the lead multiple times in the fourth quarter. So, I mean, Penn State almost lost that game. They probably should have lost that game, but USC, I mean, they blew it.
Yeah.
I think they threw an interception in overtime, and then, they missed a field goal in overtime, and then Penn State had the ball last in overtime. They're like, okay, cool, let's just kick a field goal and we're good. That's exactly what happened. But pretty much outside of that, and UCLA being just god-awful, the Big Ten has been horrible when they have to travel.
Yeah.
I mean, another game we just saw this past weekend was Washington went to Iowa, got destroyed.
40-16.
Got destroyed.
Yeah.
I mean,
is
it worth it?
I think it's definitely worth it in the sense of, like, if you know, like, you're going to maybe have, like, 2 or 3 tough road games a year where you know you're going to have to get up, 10-2 is still good enough to make the playoffs. Like, we're looking at Oregon right now, right? Oregon is definitely going to solidify themselves, even after this win, being able to make it into the playoffs. And I think that's what really matters here.
10-2 means you have a year where, like, the only 2 games that you lose are the ones on the road to the West Coast teams in your conference.
Yeah.
And not every year are all 4 of those teams going to be, like, legitimate teams.
No, they're not.
I mean, we're seeing it obviously with UCLA. Right. Unfortunately, they can't get a win against anyone. They barely beat Hawaii.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Sometimes it depends. It's going to depend on each year and what the bubble looks like that year.
Oh, yeah.
You know, some years 10-2 is going to look very different than other years. And some years 10-2 is like, oh, you're in easy because everyone is losing, and like there's going to be 1 or 2 9-3 teams then. Some years 10-2 it's like, okay, what's your resume?
I mean, personally, because I think the gaps are not that big in the SEC and the Big Ten, from what we're seeing based off like the way the results have been going, like there's no big separation so far. I'm seeing something to where like you could see like it's gonna be like a one bid Big 12. It's gonna be like a Kansas State or BYU. I think Oklahoma's played their way out. I think Utah's slowly
I
playing
don't
their
agree
way
with
out.
the one bid Big 12 because BYU, Iowa State, Kansas State, and I mean, if you ask me, I think Utah is still in it from the math that they can still win the conference.
In theory,
it's
yes.
tough because they now have 2 conference losses.
Right.
But they can still win it, and Arizona State is still on the board too. I know Arizona State's a long shot.
Right. But it's also like, if you're looking at it, it's like, will the committee give 2 bids to the Big 12? Will the committee give 2 bids to the ACC?
I think it's trending in that direction.
You really think so?
I do.
Like
just because
you think a Miami Clemson will get in
Yeah.
rather than just one of them?
Mm-hmm. And also SMU is sneaky. They're a sneaky 5-1, and so I think if it comes down to Clemson being on the bubble or SMU being on the bubble, they're going to snub SMU. But I don't know. SMU having that strong record helps to legitimize the ACC. At beginning of the year, I didn't think it was possible for like both the Big 12 and the ACC to get 2 bids in, just because this expansion is clearly to benefit the SEC and the Big 10.
Yeah.
Problem is the Big 10 kind of sucks. The SEC is not as good as we thought it was going to be.
It's just going to come down to who gets those 7 at-large bids. Who's going to be the next best 7 after the conference winners and then your group of 5 school?
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see on if there's going to be bid stealers or something along those lines where
I mean, it's going to happen eventually.
Oh, it's definitely going to happen.
I mean, just 2 years ago, it would have happened had the 12-team playoff been in effect because Kansas State beat TCU, who TCU ended up playing in the national championship game. That would have been TCU still would have made it in the 12-team playoff,
right? Kansas State
would have
gets
stolen
in.
someone's spot.
Kansas State would have been the 4 seed,
Mm-hmm.
and then who knows from there?
All right, yeah. One more thing about the expansion severely affecting teams in the Big Ten. I'm curious how it works out in other sports, because in football, yeah, there's a lot of moving parts, but you do tend to like go there the day before. Sometimes teams are traveling like, obviously it's not going to be the same because they're having to go such a far distance, but sometimes teams are traveling like the day of. And so it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how it affects other sports.
It is interesting because like you have to think Ohio State goes out to Oregon, plays the 7:30 game, right? All that stuff. Whereas vice versa, and that's like whatever, it's regular 7:30 to them. It's like Oregon, it's like 4:30 to them, whatever, 3-hour difference, right? Or is Ohio, yeah, that's right. Whereas you have Washington playing a noon game in Iowa, that's like a 9 a.m. kickoff time in Washington.
Yeah, that really messes up your rhythm.
You have to be up and ready to go at 6 a.m. to then like travel, get your warm-ups in, get taped, get everything, get to the stadium, be prepared to mentally focus into a game, and then tip-offs at 9 a.m. I think there might be something to be said about early kickoff games happening for West Coast teams that have to travel east.
Yeah. Which I thought that like the earliest that they would let teams do that is like 3:30 games.
No.
Just because of exactly what you said, but yeah, they haven't done it so far.
No.
All right, let's do some quickie games before we move on. Utah, Arizona State, we kind of alluded to it, but Arizona State beat Utah.
Yeah, they did. Friday night
game. It was a close game, however, Cam Rising was not all the way there.
No, he was not.
He was clearly hurt. Was like, I mean, he was throwing wounded ducks up there. Yeah, he was not throwing a pretty ball.
I hear you.
It really, 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 really limits Utah's chances to make it to the playoff. Doesn't completely eliminate him, but it hurts him.
Yeah. This is also an Arizona State team who's now currently 5-1.
Yeah.
Preseason predicted to win 4.5 games according to Vegas.
Yeah,
So
they were predicted to finish last, I think, in the Big 12.
So how about that?
Kenny Dillingham's a good coach. I said it last year. They just weren't winning games. All right, next up we have South Carolina almost beat Alabama. Oh, my God, they almost beat them.
How? Like how?
I don't...
Like South Carolina is not good. Like
They have
how?
a solid defense.
I'm not saying that.
No, I know. I'm just trying to give the devil's advocate.
But I mean, like this is the type of game where it's like, what? Like how do you go and lose to Vandy, and then you go, oh, they're gonna bust the brakes now off of South Carolina? Why? Because they're gonna be up for that game, and they need to show that they're the Alabama that they are. No. Like, what's going on in Tuscaloosa right now?
Look, this is what Kalen DeBoer did last year, and they were one of the best, and Washington was one of the best teams in the country. They kept it close against teams that they had no business keeping it close against. It took a pick 6 for them to beat Arizona State.
Jeez.
It took, like, it was like a 96-yard pick 6 or something that it took for them to beat Arizona State. They almost lost to Arizona, who Arizona ended up being a really good team last year, but they play with their food a little bit. So, yeah, this is not a good look for Alabama. I'm not completely worried about them.
Like, are you just going to turn on an Alabama game and you're just going to be like, oh, they're going to be up for Georgia, but then they're going to be down for South Carolina?
I very easily could see that.
Jeez.
I still think Kalen DeBoer is a great coach. I just think the days of Alabama rolling everyone by 40 are gone.
All right.
Texas, Oklahoma. I called it. Oklahoma sucks.
Oklahoma had a lot of injuries, though.
I don't care. I don't think they were good before.
I hear you. They did play. I mean, I think you agree with this. The best team in the nation right now. They are humming.
Yeah. Texas might be. They might easily be the best.
Yeah. I mean, Quinn Ewers came back, looked good.
Yeah.
They do have a backup quarterback that is also very good. But, I mean, like, Texas is moving and grooving right now.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Speaking of Texas, Mississippi State and Georgia, that was only a 10-point game.
Yeah.
Mississippi State is one of the worst teams in the SEC.
They are considered the bottom feeder in the SEC.
I think this is two things. One, Georgia's not as good as they have been the last few years.
Mm-hmm.
I have said it. I've said it, and I'll say it again. Two, they have Texas next week. I think they were looking ahead.
I see.
I mean, honestly, I think that's what it was. I think they were looking ahead, playing with their food a little bit. It wasn't as bad as South Carolina, but South Carolina is also a better team than Mississippi State.
And what about the same thing for the next game on our sheet?
Florida, Tennessee. Ooh. Look, okay. This is an interesting stat. How many times in the last 2 decades do you think Tennessee has beaten Florida?
2 decades, so 20 years.
Yep. So that
Tennessee's
means they
beaten
played
Florida
20 times.
So that goes back to 04. So 04 to like 2010, no.
I guess it's 05 to do that because they played this year already.
Right, but like 05 to 2010, no, because that was Florida had Jesus on their team. 10, let's say 4 times.
3.
Dang.
3 including Saturday.
Okay.
Yep. Tennessee struggles against Florida. It's crazy. It is crazy how much Tennessee struggles against Florida. And they barely beat Florida, I think just because it was at home.
Or, as you said, were they looking ahead and they have Alabama this week?
That's probably also part of it. That's probably also part of it. Yeah. I think they were looking ahead. Could have been the same for Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
They were probably looking ahead to Tennessee. I think you're getting a lot of looking ahead this week. It didn't really burn anyone, but it happened.
Yeah.
Ole Miss lost to LSU.
Man, this is an Ole Miss team I was really high on.
I was pretty high on too.
You lose to Kentucky at home. I mean, I get it. You lose at Death Valley at a night game. It's going to be rowdy.
I should have known Ole Miss wasn't that good when they only beat Wake Forest like 40-3.
Yeah, only 40-3. Yeah.
Well, no, seriously, Wake Forest is not good this year.
Yeah,
like that's not. Keeping them to 3 points. Sure, I'll give you that. But like only scoring 40 on them, you should score more on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also I still don't think this LSU team is very good. Like this, sure, it like
It looks good.
raises their profile in my eyes a little bit, but like I still don't think LSU is good.
I'm just trying to find where to put these teams in tiers as far as like rankings go, because it's like
It's just one slush this year.
it really is.
I'm telling
because,
you.
like,
I'm telling you, it's just one slush.
all right, right now, predict it. Who is Texas playing in the SEC championship game?
I don't know. Alabama, maybe.
Think it's Bama
I think it is.
because they got the win over Georgia.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. I mean, I think it's at this point it looks like it's either Alabama or Georgia.
Yeah.
Okay, then Vandy. Oh, Vandy just keeps rolling.
Yeah, they do.
They keep rolling. They're 4-2.
They
They are the first team left out of this week's AP Top 25.
Mm.
The first team. And in our poll, they're the third team.
Mm.
And they're going to win this week. Actually, they're probably going to win this week. They play Ball State. They lost.
Easy
to-
their announcer's
yeah.
curse.
They lost to Georgia State, which in hindsight, it's like, how?
Mm.
How did you lose to Georgia State? You're better than that team. Georgia State is not good this year.
No.
So, I mean, Vandy should be 5-1 right now. If you think about it, Vandy
That's-
should be 5-1.
That's kind of wild.
Yeah. But they keep rolling. And then Kansas State, Colorado. God, that was a good game.
Really?
That was a really good game. Colorado is not bad.
Really?
I'm telling you.
They're not
they're
bad.
not bad.
Okay.
Colorado is exciting to watch,
Okay.
in all honesty.
All right.
All right. That's the recap of all that.
I saw
good
Travis
stuff.
Hunter didn't do too much in the box scores for that game.
Well, he got hurt.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. He got hurt, pretty much didn't play the second half.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. And also, their number 2 receiver, Jimmy Horn, got hurt.
Oh, wow.
So, Shador was doing what he did without his top 2 guys.
Yeah. Okay.
Ashton Jeanty watch. He's now at 1,248 yards and 17 touchdowns.
He only had 31 carries for 217 yards and
One touchdown.
One touchdown.
Bro fell off.
He's still the favorite to win the Heisman.
Yeah.
It is now him. Travis Hunter fell off with his injury. It is now Jeanty, Ward. It was Milrow. I'm not sure. It's like Jeanty and Ward right now.
I mean, it's okay. So Ashton Jeanty was the Heisman favorite after Week 7
Sounds right.
in the last decade. The last 10 Heisman winners.
Uh-huh.
How many of them who led the Heisman odds after Week 7 do you think won the Heisman?
10?
Yeah,
8.
it's 1.
Ooh.
Do you think you know the one?
Well, 10 Heisman winners after week 7.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson.
It's Action Jackson, baby.
Oh, wow.
It's Lamar Jackson. He's the only one.
Wow.
I mean, that's like, to put into context, like how insane his Heisman win was. Not only did he do it at Louisville, which the Heisman Club is like, it's a bunch of good old boys. They like to give it to the big name programs.
Mm-hmm.
He also, the people that win the Heisman in September never actually win the Heisman. Last year it was Travis Hunter.
Really?
Which I'm just saying, like, who won it in like September,
Oh,
like
okay.
early season. Last year was Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter didn't win the Heisman. It's so insane what Ashton Jeanty's doing right now, and we'll see if he can sustain it.
Right.
But like, it's wild.
But also the other thing is that I think you also have like the top team in the country right now who had injuries where Ewers got hurt, so they bring in Arch Manning. So both of them are kind of out as far as like potentially
Yeah,
winning
Ewers
the Heisman.
missed a couple of games.
Right. So that hurts Ewers' chances. Milrow just lost to a
Traditional bottom feeder.
bottom feeder in Vanderbilt. Are they really going to give it to a guy who lost to Vanderbilt? Miami stumbled. They haven't fallen, but they have stumbled. And they're
I
still
feel like those are synonyms.
all right. Okay. Well, he has. What I'm trying to say is like they're barely beating teams like Virginia Tech, where they
Yeah.
borderline Hail Mary's not getting caught or whatever.
Do you know Kyron Drones and Cam Ward are cousins?
Yeah,
It's wild.
I know, right?
Yeah. Anyway, continue.
But it's that Milroe. I want to say Nico was up there for a little while, and Carson Beck was there for a second or two.
Yeah, probably like early season. Just
Yeah.
because it was like, he's been there forever. He plays for the preseason number 1 team. He's their quarterback. Like, we'll bet on him. We'll throw a couple dollars his way.
Oh, Dylan Gabriel is now second favorite.
Yeah, that makes sense. He's got the big one.
Yeah.
I mean, teams look for Heisman moments. And if Boise State had won off of what looked like at the time it was the game-winning touchdown against Oregon, that's Ashton Jeanty's Heisman moment.
Yeah, it is.
Or if it were like, if they had like a 3-point lead and then they handed it off to him and he like iced it with like a long touchdown.
Have you seen the stance that he does before he runs?
No.
Ashton Jeanty?
No, I have not. I'll be honest, I haven't watched a ton of Boise State games. They play late. We live in Kentucky. Yeah, I'm not.
So, it's the way he stands. So he just that's his pre-snap.
He's literally just standing.
He just stands straight up. He doesn't. He just and then high schoolers have been copying it. Just standing up straight like a plank. And they asked him, they're like, "Why do you do that?" He goes, "I just like to be calm, collective, let my O-line get the blocks and see where the hole is and go." That's what he said.
All right. Yeah, so we love some Ashton Jeanty. I want him to win the Heisman so bad.
I want him to win the Heisman.
I want him to win it so bad. All right, and then some other little fun news. There are so many teams this season.
Mm-hmm.
I slurred my words a little bit there.
Yeah.
There's so many teams this season that are undefeated this far into the season for the first time in a long time. Going in least to most impressive. Pitt is 6-0 for the first time since 1982.
Okay.
Indiana is 6-0 for the first time since 1967, and just the second time ever.
All right.
Army is 6-0, and Navy are 5-0 since 1945. We've been talking about this one for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then Iowa State is 6-0 for the first time since 1938. Matt Campbell.
It was funny. There's a guy at my work who was wearing a polo with an army polo, right? It had like the Army logo on it, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, they're undefeated right now. He goes, "I'm surprised you know what logo that is." I was like, what?
How old was this guy?
Maybe like 45, 50.
Exactly. Yeah, he just...
I'm surprised you know what the logo is. It's like, it's the Army logo.
I'm surprised you know what the logo is for the military of your country. Okay, dude.
Okay. But it was just funny.
You can't gatekeep the military.
It was funny. I was like, yeah. I was like, they're playing good football right now.
Army is playing really good football.
Yeah, I have them above Navy right now in my rankings.
They're really good right now.
Yeah, they are. Here's my prediction right now. I think Army right now is going to beat Navy in the what is it called?
It's called the Thompson Cup.
Thompson Cup.
No one ever knows that. Everyone just calls it the Army-Navy game.
Yeah.
But it's actually called the Thompson Cup.
Okay. Yeah, I have Army over Navy right now. Mid-season prediction.
I mean,
and I think that's
I don't think that's a terrible take.
I think it's a fun one to do right now because they're both playing good ball.
Yeah, they won the last year.
Yeah.
All right, on to the news. This is a sad one, so I guess we'll just talk about it real quick. But North Carolina wide receiver Tylee Kraft, he got diagnosed with cancer in 2022. He died Saturday, like right before their game.
Yeah.
So, and it was the game that they were going to honor him too, and so, yeah, it's just really sad. They painted like the 13-yard hash mark blue, because that's the number he wore. It's just tragic. I mean, we unfortunately have had to talk about death multiple times.
Yeah.
In our just over a year of doing this. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not really much else to say about it. It just sucks.
Yeah.
Cancer rates are rising in young people. Get yourself tested. There's no stigmatism to it.
What?
Cancer rates are rising in young people.
No, I'm not saying that, but okay.
Get your tested for every type of cancer there is. That's the takeaway.
Okay.
Anyway, another Georgia player got arrested. It happened last week.
Shocker.
We didn't talk about it.
Man.
I don't know. It just keeps happening. Is this the Urban Meyer-esque downfall of Georgia football?
I mean, if Kirby Smart didn't know how to put the flame out, yeah. Which seems like he doesn't.
No. Did you see he pushed
He pushed the quarterback.
yeah, Mississippi State's quarterback?
He commented on it. He said, "Yeah, I think I was trying to get to the defensive coordinator and talk to him."
Yeah, he's talking to the ref.
No, he said he was trying to talk to. This
right.
is what Kirby Smart said. Any other coach, I think they're suspended.
Kirby Smart just like shoved him.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't like a gentle push. He shoved that man.
Yeah, he did.
Ooh. Yeah. So I don't know. I think that this is going to be the start of
The downfall of Georgia Bulldogs.
at least from the top. Maybe not like completely falling off like Florida did, but I don't think they're going to be the same program.
Do you think Kirby Smart is like Urban Meyer in the sense of like he doesn't care what you do off the field just as long as you win him the damn games?
We're seeing that, absolutely. I don't think he cares. The fact that it keeps happening shows that it has been systemic and it's just now coming out. So, yeah, it's and I think the only reason it's probably coming out now is because the player and the manager, whoever, I can't remember who, someone on the staff died a couple years ago because they were going like 100 miles per hour or whatever it was. And I think that just is causing people to like actually look into it. I think that's the only reason it's coming out. Because if no one had died, I think this would have just been rampant and it probably wouldn't be coming out in the same way that it is.
Jeez. I mean, this is going back as far as what? Before Jalen Carter's crash.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I guarantee it because like that's not going to be the first instance.
No.
If that is the first instance, people aren't going to do it because they're like, oh, you do it once and you and others will die.
Well, someone died in Jalen Carter's car.
Two people died.
Yeah. And he's playing defensive line for the Eagles right now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. It is just going to be a long-term thing.
Yeah.
You don't want it to happen, I guess. You don't want people to break the law. Hot take.
Very.
All right, Kirk Ferentz got his 200th win at Iowa.
He is tracking to have the most wins in Big Ten history.
He's top 20 all time in football.
Yeah, 215, I believe, is the record for Big Ten wins. Or Big Ten wins within the Big Ten conference. So, like, your out-of-conference games count as well.
Bo Schembechler?
It's an Ohio State coach.
Oh, okay.
It's,
Yeah, didn't Kirk Ferentz, didn't he get some games removed from his record officially?
I'm not sure.
I feel like he did. I feel like some games got vacated. That's the word I'm thinking of. But I mean, if that's the case, then he's got way more than 200. But
it's
good for Kirk Ferentz, one of the top coaches in the sport.
It's Woody Hayes.
Woody Hayes.
From 51 to 78 with the Buckeyes. Kirk Ferentz is right behind him.
Yeah, but what about Chicago's coach?
No, I'm not counting that. It's not Big Ten era. That's why they...
No, that was the Big Ten.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it was.
I know what you're trying to get at, but I promise you it's not.
Chicago was in the Big Ten.
I'm aware of what you're saying. I'm just saying what the graphic showed when I was watching the Iowa-Washington game, okay?
All right.
They did not have the Chicago coach from 1896 up there.
Okay.
I don't know what exactly the terminology was, but
he's
coming for you, Woody.
All right. Moving on from that, we talked about it briefly last week that college basketball is around the corner because teams are starting to, like the big programs are starting to do their like hype up like events.
Duke did theirs. I saw Louisville live.
Yeah, I thought that's where it would end. I didn't think we would bring this back up until we released our top 25. or our top 30 actually.
Ooh, sneak peek.
But no, there's actually news surrounding this. That's because at Big Blue Madness, which is Kentucky's little hype of event, Rick Pitino showed up.
How about that?
Yeah, Rick Pitino won a national championship in Kentucky. Maybe more importantly, is currently the coach of St. John's.
He is.
So,
Has a current coach ever showed up to another team's hype
event, hype night?
Promoting hype night?
I don't know. I don't know. He didn't just show up then, but he went to the Kentucky Vandy game. Which, look, if Rick Pitino going to Kentucky football games means that they're going to lose, I want him to go to every single one. He better show up November 30th when Louisville plays them in Lexington. But anyway, this is apparently, it's according to Rick Pitino, so he kind of embellishes sometimes. This is his first time returning to the state of Kentucky since he was fired from Louisville in 2017, and then of course he had to go to trial and everything because he sued the university.
There you go.
It was his first time returning to the state.
Okay then.
So, and it comes to promote a basketball team that he is competing against in the grand scheme of things.
I mean, he also said a lot of things when the Mark Pope hire came. He said if they hire Mark Pope, he'll be a donor. He said if he will send any letters of recommendation endorsing Mark Pope for the job. Like, I think he is much a Big Blue Nation fan as anyone else right now.
He's a Mark Pope fan. Once they fire Mark Pope, he'll be gone.
You think?
Yes.
Interesting.
I guarantee it. Yeah, so all of this, if this is striking you as odd, you're not alone because the Big East commissioner called Rick Pitino to discuss his embarrassing the conference. And according to Rob Reinhardt, who I don't actually know who that is, but
shout out to Rob.
Rob had something. He said that they are like discussing punishments for this because it's a coach of a sitting coach of one of your basketball teams going to an event for a school in a different league, and promoting them.
Mm-hmm.
So they're discussing punishments, and apparently forced resignation for Rick Pitino is on the table, along with potential sanctions for St. John's.
But if you're St. John's, though, I mean, he has brought in a class of transfers and everything else in between, like
Kadari Richmond.
Oh, yeah, Kadari Richmond, Aaron Smith, Devion Smith as well. I mean, like, he's brought in some very talented players. If I'm St. John's, I'm fighting this.
Well, not just because of the talent that he's brought in.
Well, just because, like,
he's Rick Pitino.
He's
one of the best coaches of all time. He's one of the best coaches still.
Right. Like, also, besides how good he is, it's like,
he's a brand.
I would also just go to bat for my coach.
Yeah, and he is a brand in and of himself. Like, he brings in tickets because he's Rick Pitino.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's going to put butts in seats. And as St. John's, you're not going to let that go. As the Big East, you're not going to let that go either. You're not going to force. I think they're just throwing this out there on the table just to, like, scare them.
This is what will happen if you go to a hype event for another school out of conference. And it's like, that's not going to happen for anyone.
Yeah, I think this is just a scare tactic, in all honesty. Because it just doesn't make sense for
it is kind
him
of
to
funny.
Get fired.
It is kind of funny though seeing another head coach of for lack of better words, a rival go to a rival's and says,
I mean,
I'm cheering for you.
They're a competitor. They are literally competing for like recruits and to win the national championship.
Yeah.
It's not like he's the coach at a D2 school.
No.
And he's like, I can't even say it. Go Mark Pope or whatever. Go Mark Poop.
That would have been. Oh, that would have been clipped so quick.
It would not have been clipped quickly. I guarantee you. But I don't. He's not gonna get fired. Trust me.
No, he's not.
All right. And with that, we move on to the pick'ems. This is, not been the longest episode, but outside of some exciting primetime games, there wasn't really much going on this past Saturday. So we move on to next Saturday.
Okay.
And we're gonna start our pick'ems with some good old fashioned cuz action. This is a Wednesday night game, I believe.
There we go.
WKU versus Sam Houston.
Oh, I'll go first. Okay.
I mean, WKU's 4-2. They have good wins outside of their conference. They beat Toledo,
Okay.
who is one of the front runners in the MAC.
There you go.
And Sam Houston is a surprising 5-1 right now.
Yeah. Let's keep the surprise going. Give me Sam Houston.
I'm also gonna go with Sam Houston. It's at Sam Houston. I think WKU has been better than I expected. In all honesty, I didn't get a lot of the preseason hype that they were getting, just because I felt they lost a lot in the transfer portal. I mean, some people were literally projecting WKU to go 11-1.
Mm-hmm.
That's already out the window. They're 4-2. But speaking, I'm going with Sam Houston. But there was some dude that commented on one of our videos when we were talking about the SEC, and I think we predicted Auburn to go like 7-5,
Mm-hmm.
and he commented, he's like, Auburn's going 10-2. Oklahoma sucks.
You said both could be true.
Yeah, we responded. We were like, hey, both could be true. They could both suck, but like we don't know. Auburn has more question marks, and guess what? Auburn's like 2-4 right now. So I think 10-2 is off the table for Auburn. Anyway, moving on from cuz action, we've got Miami versus Louisville. Miami 6-0 coming off a bye. Louisville 4-2. Maybe not the team I thought they were going to be preseason. I'm going to go with Miami. I just think that, don't you dare. I'm going with Miami. I think that
It's all about the you. It's all about the you. Come on.
What's
now.
the name? G-Reg.
What you do? How you do it? True.
So I just think where Louisville is weak, like the offensive line,
playing the football part,
the offensive line, the injuries at secondary,
the lack
that's
of
Miami's strength, and I just think it's going to be strength on weakness. I think.
So here's what's going to happen: is this game's going to be close.
Yeah.
Miami's going to find a way to win it.
Yep.
And that's the end of that.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we have some more ACC action. Again, Virginia, third time in our pick'ems this year.
Why?
Who would have? They're 4-2.
Okay.
But anyway, Virginia versus Clemson.
Clemson.
I'm taking Clemson as well. It's at Clemson. It's at Death Valley. Which one's the real Death Valley? It's LSU. All right. Next up, we have Nebraska versus Indiana. Both of these teams are coming off a bye week, so this should be interesting because both teams have very good head coaches.
Mm-hmm.
I think bye weeks, more so in college than the NFL, separate the good coaches from the bad coaches. The thing is, I think both of these are really, really good coaches.
Yeah.
So this should be a very, very fun game.
It should be.
I'm going to take Indiana.
Damn. I mean, shucks. Yeah, give me Indiana. Yeah. I wanted to find some variety here, but we haven't gotten it yet.
Yeah. Arizona State versus Cincinnati. Can you believe Cincinnati's in our pick'em?
Yeah, it's
they're 4-2.
Yeah,
the numbers that their quarterback has put up. Brendan Sorsby, who by the way was Brendan Sorsby was the backup at Indiana last year. Brendan Sorsby's putting up great numbers.
How about that?
He's got like 13 passing touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He's got some rushing touchdowns too because he's an extremely fast quarterback.
Okay.
It's exactly the type of quarterback that Satterfield likes. I believe they have outgained every single opponent that they played this year, and they're 4-2. Classic Scott Satterfield.
Yep.
I'm gonna go Arizona State just because they have an extra day of prep for this game, and prep and rest. Yeah, give me the Sun Devils.
So part of me wants to pick the Sun Devils, but another part of me is remembering back to that Big Ten stat.
Traveling.
They are traveling all the way to Cincinnati. They're going from the West Coast time zone to an East Coast time zone. By the way, let's do another one. Let's find out what time this game is at.
Big 12.
Big 12. Big 12, Week 8.
It's got to be.
Why am I in the Mountain West? Big 12. It is at noon.
Oh, okay. Okay, so this might be Cincinnati.
I'm going Cincinnati based off of all this information I've just acquired.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to stick with Arizona State, but I think you're onto something there.
Yeah.
But okay.
Never thought I'd say I'm picking Cincinnati over Arizona State after Arizona State just beat Utah.
And Cincinnati has Scott Satterfield.
Yeah. And I just picked Cincinnati.
You know what? I'm going to toot my own horn a little bit. I said preseason, Cincinnati was going to have a better record.
Okay.
And A, they already have a better record. B, they got some games left on their schedule they can win.
Yeah.
They could have a solid record.
They could.
Which is shocking. Anyway, Louisiana versus Coastal Carolina. This is our last group of 5 matchup. Louisiana only has 1 loss on the year. It was to Tulane at home. And Coastal Carolina, they've got a couple losses. They lost their most recent outing to, I can't remember who it was. James Madison, I think.
That would check out.
Mm-hmm. They also lost to Virginia. It's at Coastal Carolina. Louisiana's coming off a bye. I'm still going to go with Coastal Carolina, though. Yeah, I'm going to go with Coastal Carolina. I think the home field advantage is going to be important.
Yeah, they lost big to JMU, 39-7. I'm going Louisiana.
Yeah. It could go either way.
Mm-hmm.
Next, we have, it's the 3rd Saturday in October whenever Alabama and Tennessee are playing. It's at Tennessee. I think I told you this last year. They play on the 3rd Saturday of October every single year.
Oh, interesting.
I think you said that last year, too.
I did not know that.
You said that last year as well.
Yeah, I did not know
I
that.
told you a year ago.
Lack of...
Like a year ago, pretty much to the day.
Well, if comprehension rate refers to listening skills, then I'm very subpar.
I'm going to go with...
I will say whoever you pick, I'm going the opposite of.
Then you pick first.
Okay. Alabama plays with their food too much. They lost to Vanderbilt. That's supposed to be a bottom feeder. Give me Tennessee.
I'm going to go with Alabama.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I think they probably have the better coach. I think Heupel's good. I don't know. I'm not in love with Heupel as a coach, but he's good.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Notre Dame versus Virginia Tech. This is technically
Georgia Tech.
Yeah, sorry. Notre Dame versus Georgia Tech. This is technically not a home game for Georgia Tech, considering it is in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome in Atlanta. But that is very close to their campus.
It might as well be, but yeah.
It's very close. I'm going to go with Georgia Tech.
I'm going to go with Notre Dame.
I think that this is a big game that Georgia Tech gets up for, and I think that they're going to catch Notre Dame sleeping a little bit.
Okay.
Next up, we have Michigan versus Illinois. This is a fun one. This is an interesting one. It's at Illinois.
Yep, give me Luke Altmaier.
I'm going to go with Michigan.
Ugh.
I think Illinois, in all honesty, I think Illinois is the better team, but I'm going to go with Michigan. I don't know. I'm just, in my bones, I'm feeling an upset.
You feeling it?
In my bones.
All right.
All right, we have LSU versus Arkansas.
Really good offense versus a very good defense.
And a good offensive play caller in Bobby Pitino. I'm going to go with Arkansas. Once again, I feel it in my bones. I feel the letdown coming for LSU. They're hitting the road. They're playing Arkansas. They play for that stupid trophy that the SEC forced on them. Have you seen it?
No.
It's literally it's the outline of Louisiana and Arkansas stacked on top of each other, and it's glass.
I'm going to do LSU.
All right. Okay. And then the game of the week, last game being played, it actually just kind of worked out this way in our pick'ems. But Georgia versus Texas. Again, if you ask Greg Sankey, this might be the game of the year. I mean, if you asked him, he would have said Alabama, Georgia. But Georgia, Texas. Who you got?
It's at Texas. Give me Texas.
I think I'm going to go with Georgia.
Georgia's going to go in there and win?
Yeah, I think I'm picking a lot of road teams this week. But yeah, give me Georgia.
Okay.
I don't know. I just think it's going to be a bloodbath at the top this year. Texas is undefeated. Georgia isn't, so give me Georgia.
Okay.
But all right, that's our pick'ems.
It sure is.
That's our episode. We hope you watched this long. We know Jacob did. And we'll see you next time if you did. I mean, honestly, if you watch this long, you're going to watch the next one. But bye-bye.